No one would suggest that a polar bear is bigger than a mouse because it eats too much, right? We wouldn't accuse the polar bear of being a glutton and that's why he's so big compared to the mouse. And yet we do that with people all the time. Growth is a hormonal response. It's something that you have to trigger hormonally. I mean, you can't eat a box of nails and gain weight. You have to eat certain foods to induce growth. If you're like me, you grew up seeing the diagram of the food pyramid, right? We've all seen it. I saw it in K through 12 and in college. And of course, at the base of the food pyramid, the foods that we were told to eat the most of were, you see big loaves of bread and baskets of wheat, so the grains and rice. All the carbs were supposed to be the base of our pyramid. What if the very things that we were taught to eat the most of are the very reason that we're getting so heavy as a nation? This low-fat diet, which incidentally is a relatively new thing. We've only been encouraged to eat a low-fat diet since the late 1970s, early 1980s. And when did the obesity epidemic start in the United States? Obesity remained relatively stable throughout the 1960s and 1970s at 13-14%. And then in the 1980s, it jumped up 8%. By the end of the 1980s, 1 out of 4 Americans was overweight or obese, to the point that now 68.8, so 69% of Americans are either overweight or obese. It is now an epidemic. At that time, we started seeing adolescents with type 2 diabetes, which before that was not even a thing. Before that, the term was adult onset diabetes. We have come to the point where we're seeing infants who are obese. Can you tell an infant that it's not getting enough activity? It's not getting enough exercise, and that's why the infant is obese? So clearly we're doing something wrong. More and more evidence is mounting to suggest that the very thing that was perpetrated on us, which was stop eating fat, fat makes you fat, this low-fat myth, and that's when we started getting obese. Keep in mind, this is a fad. This is a fad. Prior to the 1970s, the general wisdom was that fat and protein keep you sated. And these foods that they've created are weird. They are absolutely weird. No fat, half and half. What is that? Taking the fat out of food, it makes it taste like cardboard. And then what do they replace it with? They replace it with sugar. I read an article in the Journal of the History of the American Medical Association that suggested that the low-fat myth is quite possibly the most damaging myth that has ever been perpetrated on the American public. I don't doubt it, because obesity comes with so many other consequences. The reason I'm such an advocate of this is that I did it myself. I put on a lot of weight with both of my babies, and after the second one, I had a hard time losing the weight. I wish I had saved some fat photos. In my panic, I didn't want any evidence, and I wanted answers. So I started looking on the internet, and now that I've found the way that I live right now, which is I do not eat those foods that your body turns into sugar. I don't eat rice, pasta, potatoes, corn, sugar. I don't eat bread. The amount of fat that I consume would mortify most Americans. I start every day with a heavy whipping cream latte with a dollop of coconut oil in it. If people manage to lose weight by calorie restriction and going low fat, that is a miracle of willpower to me, because I know personally that if I don't have that fat first thing in the morning, partway through the day, I awaken this sugar craving monster inside of me, and I want to consume entire cakes. And I simply cannot do it by my willpower. I must eat enough fat, or I will want to pig out on things I shouldn't eat that would make me heavier. But what I hate about it is all the shame. So people feel like, well, they just don't have the kind of willpower that other people do. It's also sad to me that when I go out to a coffee house and I order my heavy whipping cream latte, I get comments like this: oh, you can afford it. You must have a high metabolism. You have good genes. No, actually, I struggled with my weight, and it wasn't until I started eating more fat that I was able to lose the weight. So what if it's not a collective lack of willpower? Well, maybe, just maybe, they were wrong. The government has not had a great track record of intervening in these matters. They have not collectively made us healthier. Comments and questions below. If you like this content, please like and subscribe. I come out with new videos on Wednesdays. Thanks for watching.